Yeah.
How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. Nobody likes reading things that give you trauma. I think that's just a reaction that we as human beings collectively are just naturally prepared to give and receive. But with the spread of contemporary art and the unseen barriers of the internet crumbling down to our feet with each passing year, I feel that slowly we as human beings are getting more and more curious to explore new and different things with the hopes that it will excite us in one way or another. And sometimes that new and different thing just so happens to be something that gives you a severe nightmarish trauma. Oh, the joy. Listen, I'm definitely no stranger to that kind of traumatic material, especially when it comes to the manga world. But you know what they say? It can always get worse. About a year ago, I did a full review of Dead Tube, a manga which at the time I thought was one of the most disturbing and disgusting manga series I've ever read. Until today, that is. Yay. Now, if you saw my previous video, then you probably saw this video coming. But the other day, I challenged myself by staying in a manga cafe for 24 hours straight, and during my stay there, I obviously read a lot of manga. And one of the many new series that I happened to read at that manga cafe traumatized me and disturbed me to a level that I have never experienced. Not even Dead Tube got me this disturbed. So I figured rather than just brushing it off as just another short review in another video that probably a lot of people didn't watch, why not try to introduce this series solely in a video to try and analyze and dissect why and how this has quickly become the most traumatizing and disturbing manga series I have ever read. And with that long-ass intro, ladies and gentlemen, my beautiful ladies and my equally beautiful gentlemen, today I'll be talking about a manga series which you probably shouldn't read, but you're probably not going to listen anyway because me saying that is just going to entice you to go and check out the manga for yourself after you finish the video until the very end. So without further ado, let's dive balls deep into the most disturbing manga series that I have read thus far, simply titled Dokumushi. One day, our protagonist wakes up in what seems like an abandoned school building. The windows plastered with thick steel plates, the walls and doors leading to the outside barricaded completely. Nobody inside can leave, and nobody outside can hear them or come in. However, our protagonist isn't alone, as he wakes up beside 5 other people, ranging from a businessman and a cabaret host to a hikikomori otaku and a tiny elementary schoolgirl. Not knowing how they got in this building and who exactly abandoned them, they start to look around the school for clues. On the wall of the room they awoke in, a single timer ticking down 7 full days. Even though there's no food to be found in the building, the water and electricity is still running. Everything seems empty except for one weirdly neat and organized room. An empty classroom covered in blue sheet from floor to wall, with a single handsaw connected to a chain, and in the middle of the room, a hot pot. This can only mean one thing: survive for 7 days and try not to get killed and eaten by the starving and depraved contestants of what is seemingly a brutal and twisted survival game. With each passing day, the contestants start to grow wary, hungry, and tired, slowly losing their minds, tricking each other in order to be the last one to survive in the room. It's now up to the protagonist to make a decision: morals or instincts. Will he try to convince the maddening and sickly contestants to work together to try and escape this hellish prison? Or will he be forced to do the unthinkable in order to be the last man standing? Now, from the sounds of that synopsis, putting aside the whole fact that it kind of sounds like a ripoff of Saw, I'm sure you can start to see very quickly how this story becomes a little gross. Because if you list out every social and moral taboo that exists within today's society, then this manga just ticks everything off the checklist. You got violence, murder, intercourse, unsolicited intercourse, pedophilia, necrophilia, cannibalism, and everything else. Anything that can be deemed as traumatic, you bet your ass this manga has it. Now look, at the root of it all, Dokumushi is a straight up horror manga. And don't get me wrong, I love me my horror manga. Goddamn, I love me my horror manga so much. But even I, a super fan of horror manga, can quickly tell you the difference between a good horror manga and a not so good horror manga. Good horror manga is one that has amazingly atmospheric and spooky art styles like anything Ito Junji makes, or has an interesting and ominous story and characters that are enjoyable to watch all the way through, like Mononoke for instance. But Dokumushi seemingly has none of those traits. The art style, while not all that bad, isn't exactly the flashiest or atmospheric thing that we've ever seen in manga. And the story and characters are pretty generic and uninteresting on a surface level, even if you don't compare it to the aforementioned Saw series. So suffice it to say that even though I read all 6 volumes of this manga, I wouldn't exactly classify it as a good horror manga. So then you're probably thinking, well, Joey, then how were you able to sit through 6 volumes of traumatic shit that you seemingly don't even deem to be good in any way? Well, because it's just so fucked up. It's like standing on the side of the road and witnessing a train about to crash into another train. Like, it's something you don't want to see. But you kind of want to see it until the end. And weirdly enough, I felt the same way when I finished reading the aforementioned Dead Tube, and I've quickly started to notice that I think these kinds of train wreck, traumatic, disgusting and disturbing horror manga series are secretly like my guilty pleasure fetish. Now, for any psychiatrist watching this video, yes, I am completely stable-minded. I don't have any secret urges to commit any crimes. Please stop looking at me with worried eyes like that, thank you. But as much as Dokumushi isn't the most overwhelming and unique horror manga series out there, it still does have its positive points. One overarching aspect that I thought was really cool, which you actually find out after fully finishing the manga, is the origin of not only the title of the manga series, but also the entire premise of the manga series. You see, Dokumushi in Japanese means poisonous insect, and that name plays in direct relation to this concept of kodoku. Kodoku is a type of dark magic that is found in ancient Japanese folklore. It involves getting a large jar that is filled with 100 different types of poisonous insects that are then forced to kill and eat one another until only one insect survives. The fluids of the insect that survived would then be used to poison an individual with a curse that would either control them, cause them great misfortune, or even just straight up kill them. Now, not only is that just an interesting and cool piece of Japanese folklore that you can brag about to your weeb friends who didn't watch this video, but as I said earlier, it also ties directly to the entire concept of the Dokumushi series. I mean, think about it. A bunch of people are trapped in a school that they can't get out of for 7 whole days with no food, and their only means to survive is to ultimately kill and eat the other people who they're trapped in with. It's super fucked up, but admittedly also kind of cool as just a survival horror concept. Now granted, I don't know if Dokumushi is the first ever manga series or just entertainment medium in general to use that idea of kodoku directly into a survival horror concept like this, but considering that the series got itself a live action movie adaptation several years later, goes to show that it's most likely the most successful derivatives of a story concept like this, which I feel to be super weird because I don't know about you, but has anyone actually read this manga before? I'm genuinely curious to see just how many of you guys down in the comments below have said that they've read this manga or even heard about this manga, because if it wasn't for me going to that manga cafe, I probably would have never known about this series. Maybe it's unknown because, again, of its super disturbing and disgusting concept and overarching plot, but I honestly think as well that it has some kind of cool and neat little elements that it seems that the survival horror genre of manga hasn't fully delved into as deeply as Dokumushi has. Now mind you, when I say that this manga is the most disturbing manga I've ever read, I mean that with every sense of the word. There's only so many scenes of cannibalism, pedophilia, necrophilia in a single manga series before you start to be like, wow, how is this manga legal? For the first time in my life, I actually regretted the fact that we have freedom of expression in this country. Of course, a lot of these scenes are purely just there for shock factor, as any good survival horror series likes to sprinkle in every now and then. And by God, it certainly does a good fucking job of shocking the viewer, let me tell you. But it also does a good job to, weirdly enough, justify this gore and horror elements by really going headfirst into the background narratives of each of the captives that are introduced in the series. And let me tell you, these flashbacks aren't any prettier. In fact, I think the most disturbing element about this manga is that all of these flashbacks, which lead to these present-day causes and effects, are just so real in a sense that it is very much possible for it to happen in real life. It's kind of scary when a manga manages to reach down your throat and pull up every possible nightmarish situation that you've faced with through every day of your life. Because these are situations that lead to negative and violent psychiatric effects due to trauma that can and have happened to people in real life. Unrequited love, domestic violence, a sense of alienation and not belonging, the soul-crushing feeling that you're alone on this planet and nothing can save you from it other than death itself. It's truly terrifying on a multitude of levels. Oh, but of course, this isn't an Anime Man horror manga analysis without pinpointing one particular scene in general that has just ingrained itself in the back of my mind for the rest of eternity due to how fucked up it is. And I'm definitely going to need the help of my good boy editor Thomas with his absolutely impeccable art skills, because if I show any of this next scene on YouTube, YouTube Summer is gonna kick my ass to oblivion. But picture this. A fat middle-aged otaku who is secretly into little girls starts to go insane from hunger, leading to him kidnapping and locking the small girl captive that he's been trying to protect this whole time. From there, he proceeds to molest and groom the child, all whilst inciting her to eat the flesh of a previous captive who had been brutally murdered several days earlier and whose body is now rotting from the inside out. And may I top off this turd cake with a little cherry of a fact that that whole thing happens within the span of just one chapter. This series is 6 volumes long. But at the end of the day, why am I even talking about this manga? Why am I talking about a not even that great horror manga series whose only existence and purpose is to give the reader heart palpitations and cold sweats from the traumatic shit that it tries to uncover every single page that it has? Well, because it's unknown. And as much as I don't like to sound like a weeb hipster or whatever, I love the fact that it's unknown and that I have managed to find something that's kind of interesting in a sense to you guys. I love uncovering and sharing unknown shit in the anime and manga community because it's getting harder and harder by the day to do so. With the online anime community growing bigger and bigger every single day, there are more and more people on the internet who are out discovering new, weird, strange series that have previously been completely unknown. And you can name any anime or manga series that has existed in its lifetime, and more likely than not, there is at least one person on the internet who has talked about it in some way. So personally, it really excites me to know that I have managed to find a manga series, not just any manga series, a manga series that has been the most traumatic and fucked up thing I've ever read, more so than DeadTube. And knowing the fact that literally nobody in the online manga community or anime community has even heard of this series, that's exciting. It's that feeling of a paleontologist digging through the dirt and then suddenly uncovering the Tyrannosaurus Rex for the first time. And I don't expect people to enjoy Dokumushi in the slightest. I assume there are more people who are gonna be completely grossed out by the series in general, but you know what? I might as well try and share it with you guys, so that's why I made this video today. So yeah, give it a read if you can find it, and I'm curious to know what you guys think about it. Or rather, I'm curious to know how many of you guys have read it before or have heard about it before. And because I know a lot of you curious motherfuckers are probably going to end up reading this series in one way or another, let me know down in the comments below as well how you feel about this manga and if it is as traumatic and disturbing as I made it out to be. Because apparently there's a sequel series to Dokumushi as well, so I'm probably going to end up reading that too, because curse my mortal curiosity. But rest assured, there is no way in hell you're making me watch the live action adaptation. If the manga managed to get me this disturbed, my stomach is cringing just at the thought of how they would adapt that with real actors. But if you know of any other weird, strange, and completely unknown manga or anime series that you'd like me to talk about and share with the broader community in a future video, then the easiest way to do it is leave it down in the comments below, or you can follow your boy on Twitter and tweet your suggestions to me. Because many of us are aware of just how vast the manga and anime library really is, and I'm looking forward to finding that diamond in the rough to dig it up and show it to you guys publicly. But until then, I have to hunt down for the sequel to Dokumushi. God damn it, I'm not ready for this. Anyways, guys, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Like and favorite if you enjoyed, subscribe for anime banter, and keep watching anime. Johnny!